It's final exam week here at IPFW, and while the students are busy in the classroom taking their final tests, this week we're going to have a final exam of our own here on Mastodon Spotlight, as we're going to briefly review the recently completed seasons for baseball, women's softball, men's and women's tennis, and men's and women's track and field. Our guests will be the head coaches respectively, Billy Gernon, Keith Fisher, Eric Burns, and assistant coach Mike Frucci from track and field. Program is called Mastodon Spotlight. Stay tuned. Final exams are coming up next.
You'd never know it on the battlefield, but nearly half of today's military are National Guard and reservists. However, they can't answer our nation's call without their employer's support. If you're an employer, visit esgr.org and find out how to do your part. After all, their response depends on yours.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. As we said earlier, it's final exam week, and our first final exam for this show is on men's baseball. And we're happy to have back on the program the head coach of IPFW Baseball, Billy Gernon. Welcome back. It's been a while, but it's fun when I can get you. It's just hard to get you.
It's been a long journey, but we have arrived, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about the season. It was a long season.
Yeah, it was a long season.
I know you got 51 games that you actually were able to play.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you be the director of sorts. Let's start wherever you'd like to start.
Well, let's start at the end and back up. We ended up 17-33 and won. 51 games played total, which is the most games that we've played since I've been here. Weather's been a factor in the limit of games that we've played. The most was 46 up until this year. And all of those 51 games were against a Division I opponent except for 2, and those were NAIA schools. We went 1-1 against them, and we opened up with Cumberland, who was a ranked NAIA school, which we might see in the College World Series. And backing all the way up to that first NAIA game that weekend in Nashville, we played Indiana State, who's having a great year, who beat us pretty well, and then we ended up beating Miami of Ohio at Vanderbilt Field pretty convincingly, and Miami of Ohio stands in second place alone in the MAC Conference right now and 25-15 overall, and Jason Horvath was the winner of that game, probably the biggest win of the season for us. So as the season progressed, we had a couple more weekend trips down in the southern part of the states, and then we ended up going to Florida, to Bradenton, to the IMG Academy, and played what I call middleweight fighters, which I'm going to allude to a little bit more here. But we played some northeastern schools that were coming out of the indoor facilities, such as we were, like Rhode Island, who we went 1-1 against, and Yale, who beat us, and Harvard was scheduled, but it was a rain out. Lehigh, we went 2-0 against them. St. Francis out of Pennsylvania, or out of New York, we had a tie with. So we played a pretty good schedule down there. Ended up beating Bucknell, lost to Northern Iowa, which is a Missouri Valley Conference team. It was another very good team that we played. And after that, in all honesty, Mike, the season got more difficult by the minute. We only had 11 home games. And 2 of those were Dayton at home, who was struggling this year. We ended up seeing their number 1 and their number 2. They saw our number 1 and our number 2. We lost 3-2 and 6-1, you know, unable to get some victories at home even in the stadium. As I alluded earlier about the middleweight fights, we learned this year, after being swept miserably and embarrassingly, not based on our effort, just based on the score of the game. And victory's not always in the score of the game. It's in the pursuit and the effort, in my opinion. But you want to win. And we're trying to build a winning team here. We're trying to have a winning season, and it was very difficult to do so. And some of those reasons is that now that our coaching staff, and myself most importantly, has identified that this baseball team is made up of Sugar Ray Leonards and not Muhammad Ali's. And when we go into the ring to fight, and I'm going to be analogous with boxing here for a minute, that we want to fight middleweight fighters. That's what we train for, that's what we're prepared for, and that's what we do well against. We don't want to, Sugar Ray didn't want to make a living boxing Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. It would have been interesting to start, as it is with us, and then about the second or third round, all of a sudden you go, this isn't looking as good as I was hoping it might look. Baseball's got that aura that you can send a pitcher out there that's a stud, that's a buzzsaw, and keep you in the game. It's not as true as you would think it would be. But he's got to have tremendous defense played behind him. He's got to have offense behind him. And as the school has supported the program without a question financially, it's not supported as well as most of the teams that we play. So a lot of our finances are invested in our pitching staff. And you know, we hit 260 as a team, and it was evident that we need to improve in that area. But Mike, every middleweight fight that we had, we were in that game in some fashion and had a chance to win that game. Every heavyweight fight, with the exception of Miami of Ohio, which teeters from middle to heavyweight anyway, we didn't have a chance, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 games out of 15. So 2004 schedule brings a lot of quality things to the university, and more importantly to the team. One, it brings 20 Division I home games and 25 total home games. And 20 of those 20 Division I home games, I say 18 of those are middleweights, and 2 are leaning towards heavyweight, and that's Purdue and Ball State in the stadium on back-to-back nights already set up. So, but we have Bowling Green State at home, Youngstown State at home, Detroit Mercy at home, Valpo at home, Butler at home, and these are all 3-game series. So in April, I don't think we're on the road at all on a Saturday and Sunday, and that's going to be a great change for us. You know, we were some road warriors, as most of the teams have been. I'm not telling you that we're any different from anybody else. But without going down the avenue of I got a list of excuses, there are some factors in playing at home helps you win, and playing a schedule that's favorable and similar to you is going to help you be successful. And we hope that 2004 brings that, along with the 14 freshmen that now are going to hopefully be more like juniors because of the playing time they had.
Before we start talking about some of the award winners and some of the players that you'd like to highlight for an effort well done, talk a little bit about one of the problems that all the athletic teams have here at the university, the fact that being a new kid on the block in Division I, as you just alluded to, most of your schedule has been on the road.
Yeah, it
more
has.
or less out of necessity. That can sometimes take away from one of the main purposes of a student athlete coming here at IPFW, and that's to obtain an education and a degree. And the academics, I know you and I have talked about this many times in the past, as all your fellow coaches on staff, academics are important here at IPFW.
Absolutely. And you know, Mark Pope, our athletic director, does a phenomenal job in emphasizing the importance of building that bridge and having good quality relationships from Gates all the way down the main artery to Kettler, because we know that academics and the educational arena on campus with the professors is the sole purpose of coming to this university, without doubt. And we've had a couple of incidents, I would like to say, not problems, where we're thankful that professors have shown some concern about player A and player B not being in class, and then when I call them and try to mend the relationship and keep it where we want it, and explain to them the gauntlet that we're walking, so to speak, and the rite of passage for a first-year Division I school, they've been very understanding. They don't like it, we don't either, but at least they've been understanding and supportive, and have allowed our players, not anything special, but just the fact that they understand, and it helps them academically. But you know, we told our guys, you got some stripes, you've earned some stripes, and next year, Mike, we only go to the Spring Break Academy, where we're going to miss 1 day of school because it's over spring break. We're going to play Centenary, who's now a Mid-Con member, a 3-game series down in Shreveport, Louisiana. We're going to miss 1 day of school for that. We play Middle Tennessee State, a 3-game series. We're going to miss 1 day of school for that. And then the whole month of April, we're at home on the weekend, and we have a couple road games where we exchange with Toledo. So the schedule, I'd say number 1 is academic friendly. Number 2 is success-based friendly now, because every team in America plays better at home. I could not name you one team that would say, yeah, we'd love to play on the road as opposed to playing at home. And plus our field, you know, to tie into other things, you know how hard I have, it's trouble for me to talk and to transition into things. Well, let me go ahead and do it again, since no sense in changing the fashion of our show here. Let me just take over, Mike. Just sit back and relax for a second. My wife will love this. We got a 9-inning scoreboard donated by our friends at Meyer Grocery Store. Can you say grocery?
Sure.
In 2000, is that word allowed, grocery?
As long as it's not 4 letters.
But we've built a relationship with him over the years, and Todd Weir, the store director over off of 37, has become a personal friend of mine, and he's helped build some relationships, and with the help of Rick Granger in our marketing department, we've got a full 9-inning scoreboard that's going to be donated, and it's going to be put up before the fall season starts. So another amenity, another nice cosmetic attraction to our field that'll be able to be visible from Crescent. The top of the board is going to have Meyer on it, along with IPFW Baseball, to give them some advertisement. So there's just going to be some nice things, you know, to come to our field. It's getting better by the minute. Tad Smith and the people over at the physical plant have been wonderful, helping us keep that field continually to improve. You know, and we're thankful for a lot of things. We're thankful that the season's over only in the fact that we had to be baptized by fire for 51 games, so to speak, with only really one game that wasn't of concern to us, and I won't even mention it out of respect for the coach. But when you have 50 games, when you got to be strapped on and locked down in order to win that game, it'll wear on you mentally, especially if 40 of those are on the road. So we did it. We're done with it. We've signed Tom Tornincasa's son, the hitting instructor from the Fort Wayne Wizards. We're close to finalizing putting him on our staff as a part-time assistant hitting instructor.
Wow.
That might be news to you.
It is.
Yeah, I got you. You know a lot of things, but I got you. So that's not a done deal. We wanted to let that cat's feet out of the bag, but not the full cat. I'm going to talk to him more this week, and Mark's trying to help us finalize that situation. But his son's got some offensive ability. He'll be a nice injection into our lineup. He's a good kid. He's going to bring some at-bats. He's a junior college transfer, so he'll be a junior. So we're excited about that. We lose one player I'd like to mention, Billy Banks, who's just been a staple in our program of integrity and character and honesty and hard work. I told him at the banquet that we had prior to the All-Sports banquet that he's going to be a great father and he's going to be a great husband, because he's just a great young man, and he'll be sorely missed. And we wish him the best if he's watching by any chance.
John says we're almost out of time, unfortunately. In a nutshell, Billy, what do you hope to accomplish in 2004?
2004, my number one goal is to have a winning season. That's my number one goal, and that's it. And I think the only way to achieve that is to continue to go about business like we have been, with a very serious attitude at practice, and letting know that the proof of desire is in the pursuit. And if our kids continue to pursue that, I think the rewards, there'll start to be some low-hanging fruit. And that's the kind of fruit we want to get. Fruit's all been high in the tree here lately.
Final comment. Up next is your buddy from the softball team, Mr. Fisher. Comments for Keith? Because you know he's going to have one for you.
Yeah, I'll let him take over. Keith's a good friend of mine, and he had a similar year that we did, you know, and I know he's looking forward to some more home events next year, and some of his freshmen getting older. I know he's got a solid pitching staff, and let me mention real quick too that this might be the final season, 03, for Jason Horvath, who I've got some words from 3 or 4 different scouts that they're going to call him and ask what his signability is, and he may be drafted in the 03 amateur draft in early June. We'll know probably in a couple weeks where he sits, as whether he returns for his senior campaign or not. So it's exciting for the program. He may not, and he may go. But either way, if he's drafted, it's great for the university and great for him especially. He's been a great kid to coach and have part of our program. And if he doesn't, and you bring back a pretty wonderful pitcher for his senior year to help us attack some goals that we're going to have.
I wish we had more time, and I apologize, because I always enjoy it when you do get the chance to come over.
Sure.
Again, sometimes numbers lie, and I think in this case for 2003 they did, but good luck in the upcoming season, and both with your players in the classroom and your recruiting efforts, and hopefully to those who like numbers, the wins will come up and increase next year, and everything will turn roses, so to speak.
Middleweight fights. Ding, ding.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
We've been speaking with head baseball coach Billy Gernon from the IPFW baseball team. We'll take a break, come back, and move slightly from baseball to softball with head coach Keith Fisher. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
I like to volunteer with the Neighborhood Emergency Response Team to help the firefighters. As you know, I was Fireman of the Year 3 times.
You're Mariano Rivera.
Thank you.
Fireman of the Year is a baseball award.
Yes.
You're not actually a fireman.
No.
Fireman of the Year, huh?
Just a few more minutes.
When you help your neighbors, you help your nation. Everyone can do something.
Visit us at usafreedomcorps.gov.
Can you pass the salt, Dad?
Salt is to pepper as gregarious is to...
Oh, no, not more SAT questions.
In ancient Rome, salt was a form of currency. True or false?
False?
True.
Son, can you locate sodium?
Or chloride?
There are tons of ways to help with your kids' learning. Find the really good ones on connectforkids.org.
You have 3.5 grams of salt and a 5-gram slug. What's the rate of shrivel?
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. As I said a moment ago, we're going to slightly shift our attention now. We move from the baseball diamond to the softball diamond. And if you've been here on campus, you know that those two diamonds are right next to each other. And we're happy to welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight the head coach of IPFW women's softball, Keith Fisher. And first and foremost, you and your team had a long but successful season.
Thanks, Mike. I think we did. We basically tripled our number of wins from last year as far as our Division I wins, and we had a tremendous team. We had girls that worked very hard, and we had a freshman pitcher that wound up 9-6. I don't know if you look back. I don't know if any freshman pitchers at these universities ever done that before. So we're really happy with her. The rest of our pitchers, they battled and struggled and got some wins. But they didn't have the record that our freshmen did, so it's nice to see that. That's nice to have that coming back. And we run out a little gas at the end. We had a lot of games back to back. Maybe that's a coaching, scheduling problem, but we're going to try to eliminate that next year, so we got a little time in between. But we're happy with the season. We're not happy that we didn't have a winning season. That's our goal for next year. Our goal for next year is to have a winning season. And
Well,
I think we're capable of doing something like that.
as I mentioned to Billy, one of the things that we want to do, we don't want to dwell too much on the negatives, and some people will say 18-25 is a negative, but as Dennis alluded to me at the banquet last Sunday, 18 wins, 15 of those Division I, as you mentioned a moment ago, which triples what you had last year. The development of some people like your freshman pitcher and Beth Harmon. I forgot Beth's first name for a second, and some others. But let's take a quick look back. And earlier in the year you were on with us. It was a long season, perhaps one of the longest in IPFW history. 43 games is a lot of games to play, and there was a number of games that you weren't able to play due to Mother Nature.
Correct.
But you started the year way back when. You got on the Big Bird. You went to New Mexico and you played, I think, 5 games in that tournament against some good competition. You had some of the weather problems. You went down south, played relatively well down south in Florida, and came up here. You played a much higher caliber of opponent than you did last year and in the past. And though it's a long season, and again, some of the positives, the 18 wins, the 15 D1s, the development of somebody like a Beth Harmon, this team grew, but it wasn't just 1 or 2 players.
Correct. We took a group of young ladies and basically a freshman, sophomore, and we did have some seniors and juniors mixed in with that. Actually, we lost 5 seniors, so we're on the recruiting trail. But our kids just didn't give up. There were games that probably, we look back, we should have won. We played Ball State years ago. We could play Ball State. We couldn't compete with them. In essence, we should have beat them. Western Illinois, we should have beat them. Toledo, we should have beat them. But we didn't. We did. Very close games. And so we were taking that type of competition, which are mid-major teams. We beat the Butlers, we beat Valparaiso, beat Eastern Michigan. So those are some great wins, and we're not yet the Purdue, Michigan, Notre Dame caliber yet. We probably competed against Notre Dame better than we did Purdue. We played Purdue 3 times. We played Notre Dame twice. We played Michigan once, and those were losses. But you know, we learn from those type of things, because that type of competition, we want to be that someday. And in order to be that, we need to recruit great athletes, excellent athletes. And, you know, I'm looking, let alone Indiana, I'm looking at kids all over the country. And that's what it takes. In fact, Coach Smith looked at me at Notre Dame, and he looked at their roster, and he said, well, they have 8 girls from California, 3 from Arizona. They only have 2 girls from Indiana. How can they do that? And I said, well, Dennis, first of all, look, Notre Dame. And I said, then fully funded. So I said, just give us some time, and and hopefully someday we'll be fully funded as far as scholarships, and we want to compete with schools like that.
Let's talk about some of the key performances that your team had, some of the key individuals. I guess the first thing I want to start out with is, at the awards banquet last Sunday night, you had some award winners, and let's start with those people first.
Well, our most valuable, we had 2 young ladies that were selected as most valuable, and Maggie Bruning is our shortstop. She also plays basketball, and here's a young lady that puts a lot of time in at the Gates Center at both basketball and softball, and she's just a tremendous athlete. She's a tremendous shortstop, tremendous softball player, a great hitter, a very, very, you know, a competitor, never says much, just goes out and plays the game. Crystal Fisher, a senior catcher. I've been with her for 4 years. She's been with me for 4 years. No relation, but what an excellent young lady. She's had some injuries along the way, but that never stopped her. She hit 4 home runs this year. I think Maggie hit 3. They both batted over 350. And so there were 2 tremendous young ladies right there. So I couldn't make a choice, so I had to have co-MVPs, and you know, and that's fine. Coaches Award was given to our pitcher, freshman pitcher, 9-6. Actually, she appeared in 22 games, and just a real competitor. She's not very big, and if you haven't seen her play, the people that haven't seen her play need to come out and watch her pitch, because she gets right after it. The most improved was our entire team.
Yeah, that was an interesting decision.
And you know, I really believe that I had to give that award to the entire team, because they were all there, they all worked hard, and they all contributed to the number of wins that we had. Doc Skelton predicted that we would be 22-21, and we could have been that, and we could have been better, but it didn't work out this year. So right now we set everything at 0-0, and we start all over for next year, and we're going to get right after it, and hopefully we'll get that winning season next year.
Besides Crystal,
how
many other
we have
seniors
five
do you lose?
five seniors. We lose Lori Farrote, great athlete, great student, outfielder. We're going to miss her. Amanda Jaffe was a junior college transfer. She's a senior. We'll lose her. Stephanie Roth, been with us 4 years. What a great young lady, attitude-wise. And I told her, I said, if you were eligible for 20 more years, I'd keep you on the team, because I just love the way that she presents herself. She's a senior, and Holly McNally, who came with us just for a semester, will be gone, because she only had 1 semester left. A little story on Holly, and I think it kind of made her college career, college softball career. She always wanted to play softball, but never had the opportunity. She comes from Michigan. She had to work all the time, put herself through school. She got married. She's 23 years old. She got married, and she came here to IPFW because her husband graduated from Michigan and got a job with International Harvester. And so she walked in my office, and she told me the story that her big desire in life was to play college softball, but she never had the opportunity. And she says, "Coach, is there a chance I could do that?" And I sat and looked at her, and I said, "You know, I think there is a spot for you." So I brought her on, and she worked real hard. She didn't get a lot of playing time, but I think what made her career, and I think she'll never forget this, we were at Notre Dame, and I put her in as a pinch hitter, and she hit a triple and drove in a run, scored a run herself. And so this is something that she'll take with her the rest of her life, and And you know, what a way to end! What a way to just be on a team and end your college career, especially against Notre Dame.
And how?
So I've got all kinds of stories about Notre Dame. I had a little freshman gal last year, Stephanie Clausing, and it was kind of a scenario where I put her in to pinch hit, and she hits a double. And she didn't come back this year because she's an art major. She couldn't miss classes when we were on the road. But the other day, her mother sent me actually it was a report for a class that she had to write. And it told about her experiences going to Notre Dame. She was always in awe of Notre Dame. And it just, someday I'll let you read the letter, but it was really tremendously done that, you know, the coach put her in and she got an opportunity and she hits a double, so she'll never forget that the rest of her life. So, you know, it's always nice to win a lot of games, but, you know, when you look at coaching, sometimes those things mean a lot more than just the W's and L's. So,
and how?
Yeah.
We don't have too much time left. A couple of things I do want to try to cover. You do have a lot of people coming back, and that's good,
right.
Especially your entire pitching staff, I believe. I think they're all coming back, which will be nice. 2004, you're still working on the schedule. Can you tell us about some of the opponents you're going to play?
Well, start out with, we're going to start early again in February. First of all, we're going to go to Middle Tennessee, and we play 5 games in a tournament. They invited us to Middle Tennessee. Then we're going to College of Charleston, South Carolina, and we're going to play 5 games there also in February. And to jump back, and I haven't finalized this yet, but Arizona State called us, and they're looking for some ball games, and they said, you know, Coach, if you're interested, we'll help you along the way maybe, and we'd like to come out and play 3 games, and so that's a possibility. Then in March, first part of March, spring break, we'll go back down to Orlando. We'll play 10 games against schools all over the country, and most of the time those are schools from out east that we would never see. Then we're going to return a trip to Eastern Michigan, to Ball State, to Toledo. Valpo, we always play them here and we always play them there. So that's another one on our schedule. We're trying to include Wright State and Cleveland State, which are in the Rising Conference, which should be a beautiful conference for us to be in. And we're going to go to the Purdue tournament again. This last year we finished 3rd out of 6 teams, so they invited us back, and they always invite us to all types of things. So we're going to go back and play in their tournament. So right now that's what our schedule, and I really don't have it totally finalized, but I'm working on it.
I know we're really, really out of time, but I will allude you the same opportunity I alluded to Billy in an earlier segment. You and Billy. Billy declined. I thought he might take a shot at you.
Well,
any quick thoughts on Billy as we close this segment out?
Well, you know, Billy and I are good friends, and we kind of house ourselves back to back there out on the field. But the only thing I want to say, Billy's an avid golfer, loves to play golf. But I want to say something. If his wife watches this show, you know, if Billy comes home after playing a round of golf and he has a lot of cockleburrs on his pants legs, don't ask him what he shot. So.
I'm afraid to ask. Take it from there. But I guess maybe we'll leave it there.
So, but I love the guy, you know. So.
Oh, congratulations on the season just completed. And,
thank you.
We look forward to chatting again in the fall and next year, and hopefully you'll get that winning record and bring some positive exposure here to the university.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with head coach Keith Fisher from the IPFW women's softball team. Time for another break. When we come back, we head from the softball diamond to the tennis court with head coach Eric Burns, but that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resource Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me, I can't seem to find these anywhere.
These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me.
What did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Those of you that have hopefully faithfully watched the program on a regular basis knows that a few weeks ago we did a show, and we thought we had a couple of interviews regarding men's and women's tennis with head coach Eric Burns and a couple of members of the men's tennis team, and there were some technical difficulties that came about, and we weren't able to show you those interviews. Well, Eric has been gracious enough to come back today, and we are getting it put together correctly, hopefully, knock on wood. And we want to review once again the recently completed men's and women's tennis seasons. So welcome once again to head coach Eric Burns. And Eric, John promises that the right buttons are pushed. So
yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Let's go ahead and review the seasons, starting with women, because for some crazy reason I was always taught ladies first. The women, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they finished 6-19.
Yes.
But outside of the injury bug, and I know you'll talk about that in a moment, good stiff competition and a good learning experience for your women's tennis team.
Right. The schedule I put together this past year was probably 10 to 20 times harder than the one we had the year before, and yet we improved our win total. Up from 3 to 6 this year, which, you know, it's not, we still got a long way to go, but I was pretty pleased for the most part. You know, the girls have a long way to go still, but we are making some improvement, and we are stronger as a team than we were in the past.
We've talked many times with some of your colleagues on the coaching staff. People judge results by wins and losses, and in intercollegiate athletics, it's not always the case. And I'm sure it's the same with your team. 6-19 sounds like a horrible year, but as you said, they grew.
Right.
Talk about their development as a team.
Well, they learn the kinds of things that they have to do at the Division I level. Only one of the players had any Division I experience coming in. We had some JUCOs coming in, but it's a whole different game, and especially at the positions they were playing. They were playing lower part of the lineup, their JUCO teams, and yes, they were playing good players, but maybe not top quality Division I players as you might have at the top of a JUCO lineup. So they still had some catching up to do and had to learn about the Division I game. And then we've got a freshman that had no college experience at all, and then we had a D2 transfer who had good experience and had played some tough competition. But again, it's a whole different ball game. You got girls that hit the ball harder and more consistent, and it just takes some time to get used to, and the fitness level and the quickness factor. I mean, it all comes in. If you have one thing off each day, you might as well just go home, because the level of tennis is that good.
Last Sunday was the annual athletic awards banquet, and let's talk first with the women's team about the award winners. There were 3 different categories.
Well, most improved was Beth Miller. She was a freshman for us this year from Delta High School in Muncie, Indiana. Had a tough fall because she had an illness and had to miss most of the season. I think she was 1-6 or something. Didn't get to play a lot of the matches, and then she kind of got off to maybe a little bit of a slow start in the spring. But toward the end of the year, she really made a lot of progress. Started winning some matches. For the whole spring, she went 7-8. So it was a great improvement from the fall, and I just think she learned a little bit more about what she needed to do, to win a Division I match. And she just has a great attitude. She's only going to get better. Has a lot of talent, and I really picture her having a great career here.
Coach's Award?
The Coach's Award went to Julie Downs. She's a junior from Iron Mountain, Michigan. Transferred here from Lake Superior State.
We had her back out in the fall.
Yeah. Great attitude. Does everything you ask of an athlete. Had some problems, some injury problems, and in some of those cases, she really just tried to battle through those. And I thought, that was that's very noble of her that that helped our team out a lot, and I just felt like she really deserved the award. Coach's award is, someone that does something, out of the ordinary, I think, that goes the extra mile, and, she definitely did this year.
And the Most Valuable Player Award.
The Most Valuable Player for a second year in a row went to Jill Carey. And Jill's another player that just, she's everything I would want in a tennis player. Maybe not the best background as far as taking a lot of lessons or playing a lot of tournaments, but I'll tell you, she just gives it 100% and has a lot of heart out there. And she led our team in wins in both singles and doubles, and made an improvement. She was Most Valuable Player last year, playing one singles for us, but went 3-18. But I mean, by far the best player we had. And this year, she won 13 matches, and it's just a total turnaround for her. And I was telling her all along that if you just keep hang in there through this 3-18 season, you're gonna get better, and things are gonna improve. And I mean, they did this year for her, and she's just got a great attitude and a good kid, and I enjoy coaching her.
Let's turn our attention to the men's team now. First and foremost, the men's team got to play in a conference, and as you are, I believe it's an auxiliary member of the Mid-American Conference.
Yeah, an affiliate member.
Affiliate member,
yep.
Yeah. And 7-19, I think, if my memory is correct. Tough season for the men, but again, same situation.
Right. I just felt the need in both cases to schedule tough competition because, in the future we're maybe looking to get into maybe a Horizon or a Mid-Con. And when we step down and play in that conference, not that there are bad teams in those conferences, but top to bottom, they're not as strong as the teams we'll hit in the MAC or some of the other teams we've got on our schedule. And so I think it's really important to play the best. You're not going to be the best unless you play the best. And I just thought it was a good start for us, get our program going in the right direction. Now next year I'll probably dial the schedules down a little bit, but all in all, I think we learned a lot and we got better with each match.
Let's talk about the award winners on the men's team, and starting with Most Improved.
Most Improved was Daniel Jackson. He's a freshman from Muncie.
One of the gentlemen we had on but couldn't get on.
Played at Delta High School. And when he came in, he was mostly a doubles player. He was runner-up in the state in doubles his senior year. And I think my impression of him was that he would really help us in doubles, but I wasn't sure how he would fit into the singles lineup. But I'll tell you what, he came in and he worked hard, and he did a lot of work on the weights, and got himself in great condition, and really helped us in singles. Improved his game tremendously from fall to spring, and he's just a very coachable young man. He does everything I ask, and
that's all you can ask there.
That is all I can ask. So I was just really happy with his performance this year.
Coach's Award.
Coach's Award went to Scott Beasley. He's generally not in the lineup for us, the top 6, and he doesn't play doubles, but he has played a few matches for us. What I really like about Scott is, he's the first one to practice every day. He's never late. He arrives on time. He spends extra time after practice working on his game, and that's something that's really important to me. And I love to see players that are that dedicated. And he's another kid that's just done everything I've asked, and I could use 5 or 6 more just like him.
Most Valuable Player.
Most Valuable Player, I had Most Valuable Players. One was Michael Chase. He's a freshman from Lenexa, Kansas. Led the team in wins in both singles and doubles. Great attitude. Won some big matches. He got our only MAC conference win against Toledo of the season. And, just another good kid. He
likes to be called Mac too, so it's appropriate that he gets a Mac win.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my warped sense of humor.
But he works hard on the weights. He does everything he's supposed to. And I mean, these freshmen, especially on this team, I think we had 6 this year. And if they stick together and they keep working on their games, by the time they're seniors, and I've been telling them this, you just got to hang in there. They're going to be a good team. And if I can add some more players around them, I think the future is good for us.
Any other co-MVP?
And then the other co-MVP is Michael Parker. He's a junior. He came in from Tyler, Texas Junior College. Great player. He's the team leader. Everyone looks up to him. great doubles player. He played 1 doubles and 2 singles for us. Was in every match, no matter who we played. You know, he was always there. Lost a few close matches, but had 8 singles wins and 9 doubles wins, and had a good season for us. Had a great match against Penn State, a nationally ranked opponent. Had a chance to win the first set against their 2-player. And you know, if you can be that close in matches like that, you know, you've got a lot going for you. And I think, you know, with some time, we'll be good.
In the final minute we've got together, quick thought on next year, any player. I know Sean Fisher graduates.
Right.
So you lose him as a senior. Women's side, do you lose anybody?
Unfortunately, I learned that Stephanie Blaney will not be coming back to the team next year. She'll be going back to Texas and probably attending either Texas A&M or Houston. I don't know that she's looking to continue her tennis, but you know, I'd like to wish her the best with all that. You know,
we had her on the program.
She misses
her
family, and she's got a boyfriend back in Texas.
That's
you know,
the reason.
And it's just you know, it's tough, and I understand that, and you know, I'm sorry to see her go. She's a great kid and worked hard, but I wish her the best.
You lose her, you lose Sean. Hopefully everyone else comes back.
Everyone's back, and we should have some walk-ons for the women's team. So we'll have a full roster. We won't have to worry about going with 5 players when we've got injuries again. And the men's team, I've added a couple of walk-ons, and I'm still looking for a couple players to sign for them. But we'll definitely be improved on both sides.
Well, I appreciate you coming back. Sorry you had to come back to retape this segment, but congratulations on the completed season. Again, best wishes to the 2 departing players, and we will talk in the fall and see how things are going with men's and women's tennis at that time.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
We've been chatting with head coach for both men's and women's tennis, Eric Burns. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment right here on College 56 Sports.
I'm Richard Dean Anderson. On Stargate SG-1, we discovered that the Stargate device could be used to explore an endless variety of adventures. Your device for endless adventure is a good education. No matter what your goals might be, you'll go a lot farther if you don't drop out. So keep your options open. Stay in school.
Step out of the car. Open up the trunk. Check inside.
What's going on?
Hands on the car.
Bingo.
Got it.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Completing our final exam of spring sports, so to speak, we have with us assistant track coach and head cross-country coach and soon-to-be head women's track coach, Mike Frucci, with us. A lot of titles, Mike.
Yeah, it can get kind of confusing, but we reorganized, as probably the viewers know, that we don't have men's track for next year, and we'll just have the women's track program. And
we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but let's talk men's and women's track. And briefly, if we can, because I know you got your cheat sheet with you, we really haven't been able, for any number of reasons. I tried in the weekly reviews to list some of the performances, but it seems like yesterday you guys had just finished cross country, much less getting ready for indoor track. Briefly, if we can, let's talk about indoor track and then outdoor track, because the teams have done extremely well this year.
Yeah, they have. We've broken the majority of our school records, probably 2/3 of them, that we've reset on both sides. We've scored numerous competitions. We have a winning record both on the men's and women's side against Division I opponents. But really had a lot of great individual performances. In indoor is a little bit different than outdoor in that now for outdoor they have an NCAA regional meet that you can qualify for. This is the first year for that. Indoor does not have that, so they have a national standard, and if you don't meet that, you don't go to nationals. There's no qualifier, so to speak, like there is in outdoor. We have a really great pole vaulter on the men's team who didn't make the indoor national standard, but in outdoor made the regional standard and will compete at Ohio State later this month.
One of the things I know, and Rick Norton has been on the program before, getting this program literally up off the ground has been a chore, to say the least. But it seems like this year, in terms of numbers for participants, there's been a big increase. And I think kudos to you and Rick for going out and getting these men and women to come on board.
Yeah, for those of us that were at the beginning, when we started out with just a couple people, and now we had 55 people this year. About 35 men and 20 women. It is, you just go to practice and you look at the kids stretching and you just say, wow, how could we get from where we were to where we are now? Because we surely, that was just a dream. And it really has taken off. And I think part of that is because we've really focused on getting local athletes. And as we focus on getting the better local athletes, more athletes come our way. We're more well known, and it just feeds itself. And so we've seen our numbers increase dramatically. I think last year we had a total of maybe 35 kids. Now we were up to 55 this year. And I'm confident that that number would have kept going up in the future.
Before we talk briefly about men's track and field, and I do want to get to that before we're done with this, let's briefly go over, especially the outdoor season, some of the new record holders. Talk about some of them have running cross country for you as well.
Yeah, we've had quite a number of brilliant performances. Our best sprinter, our best athlete, I would say, is Kelly Dillon, and who reset all of our sprint records indoor, the 100, the 200, and the 400 dashes, and also set all of our outdoor records. I think indoor it's the 55, sorry. But the 3 sprint records in indoor and outdoor. And Kelly has helped us set new relay records as well. She's just a phenomenal athlete. She's a former state champion, was on a scholarship to Indiana, and decided that she liked a smaller atmosphere, and we're so glad that she came our way. But she had a great performance. Our middle distance have had pretty consistent performances. We've been a little behind on the women's side. Our best middle distance woman, Gina Pruitt, has had Achilles problems, and that really limits the things I can do with her. But she's getting back to about what she was last year, and so that's progress. That Achilles is getting stronger and more able to handle the workouts. Distance-wise, has been excellent with the addition of the twins. Kristen and Lauren have been just phenomenal. I found their niche distance, especially for Lauren, is the 3,000 meters. You really, in track, you need to find a niche that is your bread and butter event. And as freshmen, you try people in a number of events trying to find that perfect event for them, and we sure have found it with Lauren. That 3,000 meters, whether it be the indoor 3,000 or the outdoor 3,000 steeple, has been phenomenal.
And just for the benefit of our viewers, it's Kristen and Lauren Simpson, who are freshmen from Northrop High School here in Fort Wayne.
Yep, and both who got perfect 4.0s, so they're academically stellar as well. But they have been a great influx of talent and dedication into our program, and have broken basically all of our distance records, whether it be the 3,000 indoor, the 5,000 indoor, the 3,000 steeple outdoor, the 5,000 outdoor, the 10,000 outdoor. They have all those records, and as freshmen, and so that's a great thing. And on the guys' side, we've been led by Cody Brown, who was our top cross-country runner. As you remember, did really good in the NCAA regional, and has continued that. Was 15:35 in indoors for the 5K, and broke the school record, and then just broke the outdoor school record, and ran about the same time, 15:36. He's had some leg problems here in outdoor, where he hasn't been able to do the full training regimen, and so I was really just happy to get him to that same point he was running an indoor. Got to be real kind of careful with his legs. They don't tend to tolerate a lot of work, and so you really have to balance that with all your athletes and what they can handle and progress with, and certain people can handle heavy workloads and others simply can't. So as freshmen, we're kind of trying a lot of things and finding out, where the happy median is. So,
due to time constraints, we unfortunately don't have as much time as I'd like in this segment. But I feel if we can squeeze a few extra seconds out, some of our viewers may not realize what you talked about a few moments ago, and for the benefit of your viewers, men's track and field, it was announced earlier a few weeks ago by Athletic Director Mark Pope, men's track and field will be disbanded upon completion of the season, the entire season. And unfortunately, along with that, head coach Rick Norton has submitted his resignation. Briefly, as best you can, and hopefully in less than 60 seconds, the reason why it wasn't, I want to make sure it's not a personality conflict. My understanding from what I've heard tidbits is that it's a Title IX gender equity issue in terms of dealing with the NCAA and the ratio between men and women athletes. If you can put that in layman's terms in about 30 seconds, Mike, tell us what exactly happened.
I'll try. As you know, we're Division I this year. Every 10 years, the NCAA does a self-study where they send a team into your institution to grade it on a number of categories. One of those categories is gender equity. Our self-study for IPFW is next year. And Mark Pope saw this as a grave thing that could really hurt our report from the NCAA, and that would have some consequences to it if we didn't do something drastic. And there wasn't, in these economic times, we can't add women's sports. So the only feasible solution was to cut a men's sport, and in the end, weighing all options, men's track was the top choice for that. And that's unfortunate, but you have to think of the good of the entire program. And even though I'm sorry to see men's track go, and I hope that we get that back in the future, I'm optimistic that we will. But I think I've also am old enough to at least realize that the entire program is what counts, and the entire athletic program here is what could have been partially at risk to sanctions. And so we certainly don't want that, and so that's why the decision was made, and we're going forward, trying to do the best we can with the programs we have, and hopefully in the future get men's track back.
Thanks for that explanation. Again, we're out of time, and I'm sorry we couldn't spend more time, but congratulations. Give Rick Norton our best. Again, we wish him the very best in his future endeavors. Good luck to you as you get some added duties come next spring and winter with women's track. But good luck, and we'll talk to you in the fall when cross country starts.
That sounds great, Mike.
We've been visiting with Mike Frucci, the head cross country coach, assistant track coach, soon to be head women's track coach here at IPFW. That's it for the program. Thanks to Mike, thanks to Billy Gernon, thanks to Keith Fisher, thanks to Eric Burns for coming on. As always, thanks to you, the viewer, for seeing what's going on with IPFW athletics. The next 2 weeks, we are going to repeat programs we had where we introduced the substance abuse policy here at IPFW. A lot of people have talked about it and talked to us and talked to me about it. And as a courtesy, we're going to re-air those 2 shows. It went over a 2-week period, or actually a 3-week period, 2 shows. And then after that, we're going to close our season out here at Mastodon Spotlight with what I call a best of, and that'll be in 3 weeks. But again, the next 2 weeks, substance abuse, then the best of, and then we're going to take a break for a couple of months. That's the schedule ahead for Mastodon Spotlight. Again, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Until next week, this is Mike Ma saying have a great week, and go Dons. All good things must come to an end, and that means summer break for Mastodon Spotlight as well. We've got a special show this week. Please stay tuned. I'll explain what it's all about coming up next right here on College 56 Sports.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping. On Stargate SG-1, my character discovered that the Stargate could be used as a key to unlock an endless variety of adventures. Your key for endless adventure is a good education. Don't limit your options. Stay in school.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maz. Welcome to the final edition of Mastodon Spotlight for the 2002-2003 school year. Well, it is springtime now. It's the end of May. The school year, where is it gone? Final exams were completed a couple of weeks ago, and commencement actually took place a couple of weeks ago as well, as you're seeing this. And it's really just hard to believe that the school year has come and gone. What we want to do, and it's the first time in the 4-year history of Mastodon Spotlight that I think we've tried to do this, we want to do what's called a best of show. A lot of things happened here last year. All the teams performed well. Baseball, basketball, softball, and you've seen some of the coaches here, especially the spring sports, in the past few weeks. What we're going to do is play back some interviews, most of which you have seen earlier in the year here on Mastodon Spotlight. What you'll be seeing throughout the better part of the next hour, we're going to go back to last September. There was a press conference involving Athletic Director Mark Pope. It involved scheduling with some of our teams with the Mid-American Conference. You'll see a portion of that interview. The women's volleyball team finished the year on a high note, winning the National Independent Tournament title. You'll see an interview we did with head coach Kelly Hartley. And then we're going to have 3 interviews that we did with senior student athletes. And you'll be a chance to see once again an interview we did with Amy Grove from women's volleyball. You'll see for the first time an interview we did with Ian Lulia from men's soccer, Tiara Dudley from women's basketball, and then D'Angelo Woodall and Brad Knoll from men's basketball. All fine senior student athletes who have spent 4 years here at IPFW going through the good, the bad, and the ugly. We hope you enjoy it. After those interviews, I'll come back with a final note as we complete season number 4 of Mastodon Spotlight. But we'll begin our program in just a moment after this break on College 56 Sports.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places. Timeless places. Places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
Let's talk about the final reason for the press conference today, and that is that we are announcing today that we've entered into an agreement with the Mid-American Conference located in Cleveland, Ohio. The Mid-American Conference and IPFW have entered into an arrangement which covers 3 basic points. The first is that the IPFW men's tennis team will become an affiliate member of the MAC. That means that they will be automatically eligible for the MAC Conference Championship as well as the NCAA Tournament automatic qualifier bid. They will also have the opportunity to win individual and team honors as a part of the conference. We are permitted to and will display proudly the MAC logo as far as IPFW men's tennis is concerned. Secondly, we have entered into an arrangement with the MAC that calls for a specific scheduling arrangement with regard to 3 sports, women's volleyball and men's and women's soccer. The MAC has agreed to provide MAC opponents at IPFW in these sports, beginning with the 2003 campaign. We will also agree to go to certain MAC teams as a result of this arrangement. Finally, we have also agreed to enter into a scheduling cooperation arrangement with the MAC for the remaining teams, including men's and women's basketball, softball, and baseball. In that situation, the conference office will encourage its members to play IPFW both at home and on the road in these other sports. It is one incremental, yet I think very large step in our efforts to move towards conference affiliation for all of our sports. The MAC is without a doubt one of the most prestigious and strongest conferences in the Midwest. We are very pleased and proud to be associated with such an organization. We have spent quite a bit of time with Rick Christ, who is the commissioner of the MAC, as well as Del Robinson, who's the assistant commissioner of the MAC, and I believe we have framed an excellent working relationship going forward. This is due in no small part to the strength of those teams, the soccer teams with their outstanding performances and the arrangements under the soccer showcase, which we just concluded, as well as Kelly's team, and she's proving her success day by day. Those teams will have, as I mentioned, specific scheduling arrangements where a definite number of games will be contested, and then as we move into the other sports, what we hope to do with that is have it grow and blossom so that we will be playing many more of the MAC teams and have the ability to bring those quality of teams to Fort Wayne on a regular basis. So that is that. Any questions that you have specific to that, I'll be glad to answer them, or again, we can take those after we have a chance to have some pizza. Great. Thank you.
Movie star heroes get to make some pretty amazing saves. Hi, I'm Kelly Hu for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. I'm here to tell you about an easy way to be a hero in real life. Keep a friend who's been drinking from getting behind the wheel. Even if they've only had 1 or 2, they're more likely to cause a crash and injure or even kill someone. So take their keys, call a cab, or drive them home. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Kids, here's my favorite animal. Strong, intelligent, ethical, dependable, compassionate, and patriotic. By the way, where's John?
Intelligent, strong, ethical, dependable, compassionate, and patriotic.
When you help your neighbors, you help your nation. Everyone can do something.
Visit us at usafreedomcorps.gov.
When I was senator, I did a lot
After that, I was able to orbit the Earth in a great big rocket ship.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We're going to stay on the hardwood court right now, but we're going to shift our attention from basketball to women's volleyball. Better late than never. We didn't have a chance earlier, but we're glad to have the chance now to review the completed women's volleyball season. And we're happy to have back with us the head coach of IPFW Women's Volleyball, Kelly Hartley. Welcome back.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
We have in front of us a trophy and a plaque. And
yes, we do.
The big trophy was a victory obtained earlier this season, early on at the Purdue Invitational, and we've talked about that.
And can I tell you how heavy this thing is?
You please do.
I carried this because Colin wasn't in, across campus by myself today. Anyway, it's heavy. Anyway, go ahead.
Woe be to Colin when you see him later.
It's in big trouble.
But the nice big trophy there, and then this plaque, and we're going to start talking about that one first. The plaque, 2002 Southern Independent Tournament Champions. You finished the season going down to Corpus Christi, Texas, and you kicked the snot out of 4 teams.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, I guess. You know, maybe the weekend before, and I think you talked about the weekend before that, prior to that, we were up in Wisconsin and we're on the other side of that snot kicking. So we had a real tough week in practice, and I think our kids, were very determined and focused. We went down to Texas, and we talked about that tournament all year and what it meant to be playing your best in November. And eventually maybe that would mean NCAA tournaments and those sort of thing, and postseason accolades for some of our kids. And that was a great experience to get it together in November.
As you mentioned, and you've been on the show many times this fall, the goal, play your best volleyball down in Texas. And as you just alluded to a moment ago, the weekend prior, you went up to Wisconsin, and for lack of a better phrase, you had your lunch handed to you by both Wisconsin Green Bay and Wisconsin Milwaukee.
Yeah, we didn't play well. Lindy Bankowski, our sophomore setter, and she does make us go, and I think maybe even her teammates didn't recognize what she does for our team in terms of playing backcourt defense and a whole lot of things. Getting to balls that otherwise, out of system, she makes something happen. In transition, she makes something happen by running down those digs that are out around the 3-meter line and making that work. She's so quick. She was injured that weekend and didn't play. And Ashley Roth, a freshman from Leo, does a great job, and but maybe just isn't quite ready for that position. And our team just didn't. It was a chemistry issue that in Wisconsin it just wasn't working. So that week in practice, preparing for Texas before we left and practiced down there, we had some good practices in Texas as well, and didn't do a whole lot of going to the beach and all this other stuff. And Corpus Christi's a great area because our primary goal was to win that tournament first.
From a mental standpoint, as the coach, knowing how badly you wanted your team to be playing their best by the time you went down to Corpus, that weekend in Wisconsin, how difficult was it to get the gals prepared for these 4 matches?
Well, it wasn't difficult for me. Wonderful. I mean, I think the last week in practice I became a little bit more irritated with some things that maybe festered a little bit too long, and and as coaches, we make mistakes too, but we addressed some things that last week in practice, and I think that kind of re-energized us and prepared us a little bit better. So, and the important part about playing well in November, or when you're in a conference and that type of setting that we were able to play in Texas, that can mean NCAA tournament or no NCAA tournament, regardless of the type of season you've had. So even though we were a 500 or so team, we could have still gone to the NCAA tournament if that was a conference tournament and a vehicle to getting to the NCAA tournament through an automatic berth process. If, for example, like the Mid-Con has an automatic berth, the Horizon League, those schools we played in Wisconsin, which are in the Horizon League, that school has an opportunity to get an automatic berth to the NCAA by winning their conference tournament in November. So regardless if you lost to so-and-so and played well that weekend, if you win that tournament in November, you're going. And that's what that means. And there are a lot of good teams, great teams in fact, with fat records of like 2 losses on the season who lose or get upset in their conference tournament, and that loss costs them going to the NCAA tournament. That's what playing well in November means.
Take it one step further, hypothetically. Is that fair for a team that may go 23-4 and gets beat in the conference tournament not to be able to go as an at-large team?
Well, it's fair because those are the rules and we all know them. So yeah, it's fair. Now you get into, is it right, and are we doing things right as coaches, and the Division I mechanics of getting to the NCAA tournament? I don't know. I think there should be some reward for having a great season, not just playing well one weekend. But the reality is that conferences who have one automatic, and the whole ranking system and regional system, and the committee who meets that weekend before and decides who gets those at-larges, it's very political. A loss to this team doesn't mean as much as a win against this team. It's very political, and they pay attention to those power rankings and so forth. For example, I believe at least 7, maybe 8 teams in the Big Ten got in. Wow. Because of the at-large system, and the Big Ten is a strong conference, and Purdue, who did not have a good year, we extended that team to 5, but lost to them. So that tells you that's a very good conference. They should be getting a number of at-larges. I don't know how I'd feel about being the 8th place team and going to the NCAA tournament at the end of the year when a team on the West Coast who is 30-2 doesn't get to go. So the process needs to be looked at. It's been looked at by me, but no one's asked me. So, but that puts it in perspective what that one weekend can mean to a team, and the hopes of going to the NCAA tournament and extending your season, and that's what it's all about.
If we can briefly, and we'll put the old memory bank to work, let's talk about those 4 matches. You first took on Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the host school.
Correct, and they were a good team. I'm going to stop you right there and talk about that, because that was huge to start out playing against the host team. They were a big team. They had some big kids, and they'd had a good year. We went 4 with them. Neither team had particularly high hitting percentages. It went back and forth. I did bring some notes here because it was a while ago. In Game 3, we pulled out Game 3 by a score of 33-31. That was huge. Instead of going into Game 4 being 2 down, and came out in Game 4 and really handed it to them 30-18. So, that was a great match, and I think it really set the tone for the rest of the weekend. And as far as performances, Fabiana Souza, our freshman, who we moved back to the middle, had 25 kills that match and a fat hitting percentage. Janelle Pollard had 16 kills, and Kirsta Solberg had 8 blocks. Our team had something like 14 blocks that match. And if you saw our team play at all, we don't have 14 blocks many in a couple week span. So we just played very, very well that match.
You won that match, and then later on you took on Texas Pan American, and you cleaned them up in 3. How much do you think the fact that you knocked off Corpus Christi and played well progressed and set it up for that next match?
Well, and I mentioned all these people. Mo Meinhardt had like 20 digs in that first match. Everybody contributed to that first win against Corpus Christi. And, and I pointed this out to our kids later, and Scott, our trainer, is the one who first noticed it. Coming to the middle and that celebration thing, which my father can't stand. Why do the girls go to the middle and, scream and holler? Well, because that celebration and that momentum is so important in our game. And sometimes it looks token, and sometimes it looks genuine. Where Scott noticed this. Our kids were like running to the middle and hugging one another after every point. They were so excited to be there, and that chemistry was just working, and the support of subs going in and out, and everything was extremely positive. So I think after we won that match, we were just very confident going into the next match against Texas Pan American, and that was a good team. They didn't play well against us. I don't know how much that was, what we did to them, so to speak, but they didn't play very well. They weren't ready for us.
Well, you took your team, went to bed, got up the next day, and you took on Centenary College out of Shreveport, Louisiana. You beat them in 3 straight.
And they had a challenging year. What I was proud of and concerned about before that day was that our team saw those teams play, and maybe we're thinking, we're better than them, and we beat the best 2 teams already. This is easy sailing today, and take those teams lightly. So we were very concerned about that to begin the day. But that didn't happen. We still maintained a very high level of play and energy, and we're excited. Every point. And it was a great day for Amy Grove, our senior. Amy Grove had a great day. She finally was healthy and feeling good, and she played a lot that Saturday. And in the final match against Lipscomb, she played really well.
That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, as I said, you finished it off. You took out Lipscomb in 3. 4 wins in 2 days, and you lose only 1 game. Nothing short of phenomenal. What was the feeling like after that Lipscomb win when you knew you won?
I was just really happy for Amy, our senior, to end her career that way. And our kids, were so excited and had to watch them have fun. That's what, as a coach, you want them to walk away with that type of experience, and that's what it's all about. So it was a great feeling. It was a great way to certainly get on the plane and go home. And Colin coddled this on the plane. I do have to tell you something kind of funny. We took the minivans back. We had 3 minivans that we traveled with, and dropped the team off at the airport. And Colin and Scott and I were returning the minivans, and it's bright, very bright and early. And I got us lost, maybe. Never do that. And anyway, we get on the bus bus that takes you back to the airport, and we hit a bump, and Colin goes flying, drops the plaque, it like breaks, this thing falls off, and he's, all Scott and I could do was just laugh really hard. But he'd been coddling this thing, and he breaks it. I give Colin a hard time, but you know, Colin is really invaluable to this program. He does all those things that I really don't like to do, and I'm not very good at. I mean, sitting in front of a TV monitor, a lot of coaches can sit there and watch tape a long time. I have no interest in sitting anywhere a long time. And he can sit and do that and give me good information because he knows the game so well. And when I get a scouting report, you know, on paper, and he puts things in order by rotation for me, I can make decisions and talk to my team about it, and you know what I'm talking about, and make decisions based on that information without spending. He spends a lot of time in front of a monitor, and that's, and if your technical people here can appreciate that, that's, you know, some time-consuming stuff and technical ability there, and focus, and he does that really well for us. He breaks stuff now and then, but that's okay.
Well, we'll mention it to him next month. We hope to have our annual Assistant Coaches Roundtable show, and we'll bring it up when we talk to him.
I'm sure he'll get his in on me, too.
We've got a lot more to talk about here in Mastodon Spotlight as we do our season review of women's volleyball, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by two members of the women's volleyball team, junior Sarah Leffers and junior Kirsha Solberg. But we'll talk with those two ladies when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Excuse me. I can't seem to find these anywhere.
These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me. Just
what did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. As I said earlier, this week is dedicated, for lack of a better term, to the senior student athletes here at IPFW who have put in a lot of time and effort, not only in the classroom, because they are student athletes, but on the athletic field as well. And we have with us senior Amy Grove from women's volleyball. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
You are a typical example of somebody who has persevered for 4 years. I want to go over some numbers. I don't have all the numbers, but when we look back, 1999 season, 166 kills, 4 aces, 121 digs, 26 block assists. In 2000, was down to 27 kills, and you were hurt, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and 30 digs. In 2001, you had 70 kills and 6 service aces and 47 digs. And I know last year, this past year, senior year, you didn't play much until right towards the end of the season because you were beset with injuries. Let's go back, and in your own words, let's talk about your 4 years here at IPFW. And start off first with, when you came here as a freshman, what were your hopes and dreams and expectations?
Coming here as a freshman, I guess just felt like an honor to be an athlete at a college at a Division II level. Didn't even think of the Division I factor at that point in time. I just came here for the degree, to graduate in 4 years, get out of school, and to play volleyball, and just the whole experience of it. And as the years went on, got a little rough there for a while, but it's ended pretty well, I think.
For those of you that don't know, Amy's a senior from Mansfield, Ohio. And when I hear Mansfield, Ohio, going back and dating me, I ran track a couple years back in high school, and the Mansfield Relays was the big thing. You came here from Mansfield and played volleyball. When you stop and look back, as you say, when you first came here, we were a Division II school. Were you always an outside hitter?
Yeah, always.
Always.
It's always been my position.
We briefly looked at some of the numbers, and obviously it looks like the freshman year you were relatively injury-free. But after that, the bug hit. Any idea as to, looking back now, as to what in the world happened?
A series of bad luck, as I would say. My mom says not enough calcium in my bones. My freshman year, as far as season went, I was okay. And then in the spring, that was when I had my first injury. I broke a finger. Then my sophomore year during season, I broke another finger. There were just random things that happened to me. It was just freak accidents. It wasn't anything I did or just bumped into people or a ball caught my finger and just took it with it, and just things like that. And then my junior year, I worked back in, to playing and stuff. And then in the spring of my junior year, I had the absolute worst injury ever and tore my Achilles tendon. And
I've had one of those, a slight tear, so I know a little bit what you're talking about there. I was on crutches for several weeks. As long as you don't have to have the surgery, that's...
Oh, I had the surgery.
Did you really?
It was not fun. Me, who was scared to death of needles.
You have something in common.
Yes.
When you were injured, how frustrating was it not to be able to be on the court competing?
I think it was the most frustrating when I tore my Achilles tendon, because I had to sit there during all of spring season and just sit there and watch. At least when I broke a finger or something, I could still dress and I could still do some things in practice. At least I could run and stuff, but I felt so lazy and out of it when I broke my Achilles, or tore my Achilles, because there was nothing I could do. I had to just sit there and just watch and hope to walk again. At that point I couldn't even walk without crutches.
When you had the surgery, did a thought come into your mind that I'm all done playing?
Yeah, it was definitely a factor, and it was like, I've only got one more season left. Is it really worth it? Isn't it worth it? But after weighing in the factors and a lot of long talks with my parents and with Coach, I had a talk with her, and I decided it's my last season and I'm going to go out strong and rehab hard over the summer and see what happens.
I'm going to ask you the same question I plan on asking the other seniors that are going to be on this program a little later. When you came here, IPFW was a Division II school. And then all of a sudden we had that infamous press conference where IPFW was planning on going Division I. And there was that 1 year, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I call it the 1 year of purgatory for the simple fact that we were not a Division II school, couldn't compete postseason, and I know that's something that your particular team, I feel, would have qualified. In fact, the 1 year you were actually, the last year you participated in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, you were the regular season champs in the, I think it's the North Division. And, but you were denied a chance to participate for the conference tournament and couldn't go to the NCAA Division II tournament because the school had announced that they were going to go to Division I. And I know the volleyball team was hurt, the men's soccer team was hurt, I believe men's baseball team had a shot at at least conference postseason play. And I think every team, to some extent, lost some members of the team due to the Division I rules being different from Division II. What was that change like for you?
Well, we had some upperclassmen that had a good take on it, and they made IPFW stand for I play for what. And really that's what it was, but after a couple weeks went by and, it started to settle in a little bit, we decided, we're playing for each other, and that's what it's really all about. It's not about who wins the conference. Yeah, that's a great honor and everything, but we decided to make it for ourselves, and it meant a lot more to us just because we did make it for ourselves.
We don't have too much time left, but I got to ask you, highlight and lowlight of your athletic career here at IPFW?
I think the highlight would be definitely all the friends I've made and the experiences I'll take with me. I mean, I'll graduate this semester with my degree and not decided exactly where I'll be yet or what I'm going to be doing, but that's definitely a highlight for me, and I would say the low light would probably be my injuries.
Your degree is in what field?
I'll graduate with my degree in finance.
If I remember right, I think back in the fall, Coach was talking a little bit about you were trying to decide whether you may stay in Fort Wayne or possibly go back home.
Yes.
You're still mulling over that decision?
Yes, still weighing the options.
But as far as volleyball goes, it's strictly going to be recreational from here on out?
Probably. There's been talks, you know, of coming back and being a grad assistant, but at this point, I just kind of go in there and play around with the girls for fun during practice.
Final question, because I know we won't tell the prof, but we're keeping you out of class for a few minutes. But 4 years here, was it worth it, even in spite of all the injuries and that? Was it really worth it to put in all that effort?
I would say most definitely. I mean, like I said, the experiences and the friends I've made are just beyond explanation.
Any final words of wisdom to anyone out there watching tonight who wants to become a student athlete here at IPFW?
Not that I can think of. Good luck.
On that, we'll say thanks for coming in and congratulations on a good career here and getting great perseverance fighting off those injuries.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Amy Grove from the women's volleyball team. We'll take a break and talk with some other student athletes in just a moment, but that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns right here on College 56 Sports.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We continue our discussions with our soon-to-be departing student athletes, and in this particular segment we're happy to have with us, to my immediate right, Ian Lulia, who played men's soccer, came over from England 4 years ago, and to Ian's right, Tiara Dudley from near Cincinnati, Ohio, played women's basketball, and Tiara's brought a bundle of joy with her son TJ, so we welcome all of you to the program. And, what we wanted to do, what we've been trying to do with some of your fellow senior student athletes, is to reminisce a little bit, because especially in your two cases, you came over here 4 years ago, and a lot has gone on in 4 years. When you both came here, IPFW was a Division II school, and then we made the transition to Division I. We had the year of transition. I don't dare call it what I want to call it, but we all know what that is. And for basically the last 2 years, we've played Division I schedules. But I want to go back, and Ian, we'll start with you. 4 years ago, you came across the pond from jolly old England to here in the States, over to the colonies, so to speak. And 4 years ago, your freshman year, you played on a team that advanced to the Elite Eight in National Division II play. And then after that, it's been interesting to say the least. But let's go back 4 years ago. What were your thoughts when you crossed the pond?
Basically, the primary thoughts that I had were I just wanted to really get my education and play soccer in the States, and that had been my goal when I was in England. And I was fortunate enough to know a family in Warsaw, Indiana, that worked for Purdue, and we somehow came in contact with them, and they invited me to come over here and look around some schools. And it was kind of late for me to decide to come to the States. It was like March or so most of the scholarship money had already been designated. So I came to IPFW, and Coach Terry, being the master seller that he is, sold the school on me for the first year, and that's basically how I decided to come here.
Tiara, you came over from Cincinnati, Ohio, and what led you to come here to IPFW?
Well, I didn't want to go too far away from home. I kind of already established that I wanted my family to be, you know, a part of my collegiate year and to be able to see me, you know, if possible when I play. So I didn't want to go too far. So Fort Wayne was like, you know, in the distance. It only takes me about 2.5 hours to get home. And when I came to visit IPFW, it was, I think, like the campus and everything kind of attracted me to the school. 4 years ago when I came here, we were actually under a different coach, and this was actually his first year also. So it was just like it was a new program for both me and for the coach. And just to start off fresh and to start off new, we were getting a lot of new people. I knew this would be a program where I could actually come in and contribute my freshman year, and it wouldn't be like me going to another school where, you know, I'll be behind, you know, juniors and seniors who's already been starting and playing. So I came here because I thought this would be the perfect fit for me, being this freshman.
To say you've had some obstacles in your 4 years would be an understatement. But you've had a number of obstacles, one of which is playing for 2 different coaches,
Right.
one of which is that bundle of joy you've got with you. How have you been able to adjust and adapt? Because you've had some unique situations you've had to deal with.
Right. I have been through a lot, you know, like you said, these last 4 years. Without the help of family members and my mom coming here, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it at all. I've just always been, you know, a determined person, and I was determined to stay in school even when I got pregnant with my son, determined to come back and play basketball. And Coach Mesko, who was the previous coach my freshman and sophomore year, was magnificent, and just being there to support me and having my back, and I probably wouldn't have really been able to do it without him neither. So just having a lot of support has really, you know, helped me be able to juggle everything that I have, and been able to, you know, get over the walls that was put in front of me. So just having that support system.
Let me ask each of you, because I know time's a little bit short, we're going to try to get as much as we can in. The highlight and low light of your 4 years here at IPFW, Ian?
The highlight was obviously going to the Elite 8 my freshman year, because people really doubted us in the GLVC that we could be a real contender, and then basically we went 18-2-1, I think it was, over the season, and so we proved everybody wrong, and they kept on putting obstacles in front of us, making us go to Truman State for the NCAA regionals when really we should have held it here, and the same going to West Virginia for the Elite 8. So that was the highlight. Obviously the low light, so to speak, was the transition to Division I, because our sophomore year we felt as though there was another good chance we'd go a long way with that team and, you know, challenge for a national title, because we only lost 2 seniors. So when things changed in terms of Division I, that was definitely a bitter pill to swallow, so to speak. So.
T?
Well, I think a lot of people, you know, the transition, it did hurt, you know, a lot of people, a lot of teams. I mean, I think we would have done awesome in Division II. I mean, even improving the record that my freshman year, you know, having an improvement from their previous year to our freshman year was probably like the biggest highlight, not only for all of our team members to be able to do that, but also for the school just to have that large margin of turnaround. I also, you know, was, you know, discouraged a little bit about going to Division I, but I always have wanted to play actually for a Division I team. I mean, even coming out of high school, I was always so short to be a center and to be a post player. I never really had that opportunity. So just having that opportunity was actually kind of great for me, and I got to play against a high school team member when we played Moorhead State, and I was actually real excited to play that game, and to be able to play against her was exciting for me. So I think the transition was, you know, was hurtful in that way, but it was also good for me in other ways. So.
I wish we had more time, but we don't. But real briefly, future plans for each of you. T, start with you.
Well, you know, I have a son to take care of, and so I actually have to, you know, kind of maybe rearrange my future. You know, going overseas and playing is definitely probably out of that. Just, you know, I have one more year left actually of school, so just to finish up school and make sure I concentrate on that. So whatever I do when I get out of here, I'll be successful. But.
And Ian?
I'm planning to finish in December with my degree in history, and then hopefully I'm going to go on and take soccer to the next level, and probably stay in the USA and hopefully play in the A-League and see what I can do there, and hopefully everything will progress well for me, so we'll see.
Well, I appreciate all of you coming, including TJ.
Who's like want to take my mic off through the whole show?
Congratulations to each of you on 4 outstanding years here at IPFW, and we wish you both nothing but the best in your future endeavors. So thanks for coming on the program, and thanks for coming to IPFW.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with 2 senior student athletes here at IPFW, Ian Lulia from men's soccer, Tiara Dudley from women's basketball. We'll take a break and come back with more of Mastodon Spotlight in just a moment.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. As I said earlier, we're dedicating this show to senior athletes who have spent 3, 4, 5, in one case 5 years here at the university trying to get their academics in order and also perform well on the athletic front. Joining us for this segment are 2 members of the men's basketball team. I know I'll get in trouble for saying this, but for lack of a better phrase, kissing cousins. To my immediate right, D'Angelo Woodall, and to Dee's right, Brad Knoll. And I say it in the kindest way, kissing cousins, because you 2 came in together along with a couple of others. And not only did you start out, and Brad, in your case, playing for your dad, but I believe in your sophomore year, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't you guys roomies at one point? And so forth. But let's go back in the memory banks 4 years ago. When you first came here on campus, what were the thoughts and hopes and goals and dreams? Dee, we'll start with you.
Like I always said, it's always just been playing Division I basketball, and Coach Noel, he made me a promise on my visit that I would get a chance to play Division I basketball, and just meeting a group of guys like that I played with and known, and just basically just having a smack at it and just going at it hardcore.
Brad?
Like Dee said, you know, when we first came in, we didn't know what to expect. Coaches were new, teammates were new. You know, it was a new system, high school to college, starting all over again. It's been something where we can look back and say, you know, this is kind of where we've came from, but we've worked hard to get here, and now it's time to go. But you know, I can't tell you how much fun practicing, you know, with Dee every day was, and the other guys. And not that every day in practice was fun, but
I've got to ask you the inevitable question. What was it like playing for your dad? I mean, there are pluses and minuses to it, but your thoughts?
It was definitely well worth it. I've become a much better person, and I think it's allowed me to grow up a lot faster. Knowing now what I've gone through and what I went through, as far as, you know, just the little things, to him finding things to yell at me about just for the sake of yelling. But
well, I've got a question for both of you pertaining to that. Brad, on your side, were you afraid that your dad was going to pick on you more because of perhaps a feel of necessity, because he didn't want to show favoritism to you? And conversely, Dee, you come over here from Freeport, Illinois, you're just getting to know Brad, and you're just getting to know his dad as the coach. Mm-hmm. Were there any rampant thoughts at all as you started to develop the relationship and started to practice as teammates, hey, is this guy getting special privileges from Dad? Is it good, bad, or indifferent? Brad, let's talk to you first. You know, did you feel at times that Dad was picking on you?
I guess
this is not meant to pick on Dad, because I know he's taller than all of us and he'll clean our clocks, but
I don't know about that.
It had but it's a son playing for a father is a unique relationship.
I guess to say being afraid of it, I wasn't afraid because I knew what to expect. I knew his coaching style. And, I mean, I guess that's a challenge I had to take on. I mean, I come here and, yeah, I'm a freshman. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows my father. And so it's something that I have to build my own name. Now, if we were back in Michigan, they would know me as the coach's son more than they would have here. However, having to establish my own identity, I guess, is something that, you know, just positively affected who I am.
Your turn, D.
I don't think he got any special treatment, but I would say he probably got picked on a little bit sometime by his dad because he wanted the best for his son, and that's just how it goes. When you have your son playing for you, you want him to do the best that he can. You want to see him succeed. But I would also say that anything that Brad got handed to him, he earned it because he was a hard worker. He would be in the gym first. He would be in there last. And I think anything that he got, he deserved it. But I mean, when we were Division II, I would say that he was probably depended on more. And then when we went to Division I, he kind of didn't know where his role was and what he needed to do. But he still stuck with it, and he still worked hard every day. And that's what I like about him.
Let's talk about that. I mean, you both came here. We were a Division II school, member of the Great Lakes Valley Conference. And as we talked about in an earlier segment with Amy Grove, all of a sudden the announcement comes that IPFW is going to Division I, as some people would say, the promised land in NCAA athletics, the highest level of competition you could get. You had some transition, a transitional year where most, if not every athletic team lost members of some degrees for the structure that NCAA places on Division I student athletes as opposed to Division II, as opposed to Division III. And then basically for 2 years, you've been playing a Division I schedule, which meant a lot more traveling, perhaps less time in the classroom, less time to study. How were you two guys able to work and live through the change from Division II to the transitional year to Division I, and the differences that you've seen Division II versus Division I?
First, I would say that transition year, we don't like to say it, but I don't know how many people think it, but I think that was tough on us as far as athletes go because we couldn't compete in postseason. And I don't think we were really looking forward to that year. And then we actually start making the transition, and it was tough playing Division I and being on the road a lot and just coping with the studies. And what you had to do was basically you had to take your homework. You had to basically know what you're going to do when you sat down and had time to do it. And I would say that I haven't always did my homework all the time. I would sit and watch TV sometimes, but then when I got back to IPFW to campus, it would take a toll. You would get to class, you have a test, and you're like, man, I should have studied harder than what I did. But then you just take that and you take it as a lesson, and next time you go on the road, you know you got to study more, you got to read a little bit more, and basically just hope for the best.
Brad?
As far as the transition goes, I mean, that was just hard on a lot of people. Whether the sport, it didn't have any, it wasn't a difference, but it's something that there's pluses and minuses to everything, and if we sit here and say how much the Division I's benefiting us, well, we don't know the effects it has on the soccer program, the men's volleyball program, and at times you kind of feel bad that there may be some turmoil with some of the other programs, and like there was with ours at times. We feel fortunate because I think we have benefited from this change and the transition. We've been able to compete with the Michigan States of the world, the UNLVs, the Wyomings, and having a schedule like that, I would have never thought 4 years ago, we'd be doing that. So I guess for me, growing up and having that dream of being a Division I player, it's come true. we gotta, you know, like they say, live like rock stars. You know, you go on the road, you travel, you miss an awful lot of class. And Dee said, you know, it's hard to stay on top of school. Luckily, you know, I had some great professors who was, you know, willing to work with me. And that was the key part, I think, as well for us to succeed. Because I wouldn't be graduating right now if it wasn't for some of the professors I've had.
We're actually out of time, but we're going to try to create some quick time. 2 quick questions. As quickly as you can, highlight and low light here at IPFW as a student athlete. Dee?
Like we talked about it earlier. I mean, just getting those dunks against those mid-major teams and just the crowds that you played in front of is just a dream come true, like Brad said. And I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. And I would say low light would be, we had, like Brad said, we had some turmoil, and I mean, we leave it on the court. Off the court, it's non-existent. So, like you said, blood, sweat, and tears. I love the team. Love you guys. Shout out Q, the team. You know, I'll take it easy.
Brad, you got the final say.
We'll start low light. Probably the transition in itself. You know, having to leave a few players behind, and the relationships we make with them, and the steps we take. And them unable to be with us. You know, that's unfortunate, but you know, you just got to move on, I think, sometimes. Highlight, senior day was definitely a highlight. Not only scoring 1,000 points, that was great, and I guess that was fine, but the highlight of that day for me was just to see my father's face and his expression because of, I mean, it's just a test for us throughout the year. We've come to that point, and to play Wright State the way we did, to go out on senior night like that, to, you know, have a nice crowd at the Coliseum, just propelling everything into next year. I think that was probably the highlight, all in one day.
Congratulations to both of you. You persevered, as all the student athletes that we're talking to this week have done through several years in the classroom, on the basketball court in your cases, hotels, airplanes, buses, what have you. But congratulations on 4 very good years here at IPFW, and we wish each of you nothing but the best in future endeavors, whatever they may be. Thanks for coming on this week on the program.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, 56.
Thank you.
We've been visiting with D'Angelo Woodall and Brad Knoll from the men's basketball team. We'll take a break and return with more of Mastodon Spotlight right here on College 56 Sports.
I'd like to volunteer for something in legal aid. I was an assistant district attorney in New York City. I successfully prosecuted everything from extortion to murder.
That was a TV show. You weren't really an assistant district attorney.
I guess this isn't really a badge.
That's a Screen Actors Guild card.
I can spell habeas corpus. H-A-B.
When you help your neighbors, you help your nation. Everyone can do something.
Visit us at usafreedomcorps.gov.
May he bless you and keep you. May he grant you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all next week, and please be careful going home.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We hope you've enjoyed our look back at some of the happenings this year. A lot of good things. Again, women's volleyball won the national independent title. Men's and women's basketball, 9 wins apiece, which is a big improvement from a year ago. Men's volleyball, 15 wins, getting to the semifinals of the MIVA. MIVA Player of the Year, and Jeff Batak, who also made second team All-American. Soccer Showcase, another big success. We're looking forward to this August when that comes around again. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. And the other, not to slide any of the other sports, it's been a big year here at IPFW. But it is now summertime. School is out, and we're going to take a break here at Mastodon Spotlight as well. We're going to take the months of June and July off, and Lord willing, we'll be back the first part of August. And unfortunately, we're going to be missing a very important person to this broadcast. And it's my chance and to publicly thank John Yaus. John has been with me for the last 4 years here at Mastodon Spotlight, and without his hard work and his magic, this program would never have gotten off the ground. So I want to personally thank John for all his efforts. And he got his degree a couple of weeks ago, and we wish John the best in his future endeavors, and I'm going to miss the daylights out of him, make no bones about it. I want to thank also Bernie Lowmiller, who runs the show here at Channel 56. Thank all the coaches who have appeared, the head coaches, the assistant coaches, the student athletes, and I haven't counted how many of them, but we've had a lot of them on the program this year. And also some other people, some of the sports writers we had earlier on the program, Kent Horman from Channel 33, Terry Byram, the broadcaster for the Fort Wayne Wizards. We did a show on broadcasting. The substance abuse people that came on board, numerous people there. I think we had like 11 or 12 people involved in those 2 broadcasts. Everybody who has come on the program to talk about IPFW athletics, past, present, future. Athletic Director Mark Pope, thanks to Mark, because he's been a big help in the past as well. Again, we're going to take a break. Lord willing, we'll be back in August and to bring you another season of describing IPFW athletic events, hopefully bigger and better things to come. And the final thank you is to you, the viewer, for tuning in over these last 36 programs, 36 weeks plus a couple of repeats. We started way back on August 15th. So we appreciate your loyalty and appreciate you tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. And we hope that you'll be a part of season number 5 of Mastodon Spotlight come mid-August. So that's it for the school year. Again, thanks to everybody for all they've done. We wish you a pleasant summer, and until the middle of August, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great summer and go Dons.